Hey folks, welcome back to the Rock and Sea Homestead. My name's Lance. I want to welcome you to our garden. And as you can see, we've changed a few things since our last update. We put in some trellises, and if you guys follow us on Facebook or Instagram, the links will be down below, you saw how I got these home in my small SUV and my little trailer. If you haven't, go check it out. But we did 3 of these within our garden, and they're all kind of a little bit different. But this one is, on this side, is for our squash plants. We're going to get them to come up and hopefully come up and over. And then we also kind of put it up and over this bed where the lettuce is. And we thought possibly of putting some kind of a sunshade over the top to protect some of our lettuce as this Oklahoma summer gets kicked off and it gets a little bit warmer. So hopefully that works. If you guys have any experience or what kind of sunshade would work best for this, let us know in the comments down below. We'd really appreciate it. But I do have to tell you, it almost crushed my soul to having to put these up the way we did. So how we did it is, on most of them we use these little fence nails or staples or whatever you want to call them, and we just kind of hammered them in. You see where we kind of chipped up some of the wood. But what we did is we just kind of stretched it out, try to make it as flat as possible, and we nailed them in all the way across and try to even overlap the panels a little bit because they were a little bit wider than what the beds were to get 2 exactly to fit. But we're hoping this will be great to get those squash to come up and over once they get a little bit bigger. So on this trellis, we use a little bit different ones. We use smaller ones because how these were actually laying between the beds, it was kind of keeping it pretty much where it was. It was just mostly just keeping it from blowing around. So we did the same thing, but just a lot smaller, and it didn't split the wood or tear up the wood near as much. But on the other ones, they were kind of getting stretched and pulled a little bit, so we had to go with the bigger ones on those. But I think it's going to be a great little canopy, and I can just imagine once these tomato plants get a little bit bigger and they start growing up and over, we're hopefully to have tomatoes just hanging everywhere up here and just easy pickings. We're hoping. So on this third trellis, it was a little bit different. On the bed side, we used those big staples again and hammered them in, got this attached. But when it came to actually attaching it to our fence back here, we were having trouble. We first started trying to attach it like we would, like, T-post to a fence, and it just wasn't working. So we just ended up going with zip ties. We know at some point they're probably going to fail. We're going to have to replace them or to get some kind of metal, some kind of attachment like baling wire or something to it. But for now, the zip ties work. It's holding it in there nice and tight, and we don't have any problems with anything coming loose or it getting ripped up by any kind of weather or anything like that. So trellis is done. So we want the tomatoes to actually eventually grow up on the trellis here. So we got a couple things here to help us out with that. One, we got a 7/16 dowel rod that's going to go in the dirt and kind of lean up against it. And then we got some of this real soft, flexible kind of twist tie material. We got it on Amazon, and it should do the trick, so we're hoping it will. And from what I have seen and been told, what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of wrap it up here, not too tight, but just enough, and kind of just strap it down to that. And then when it gets bigger, we'll strap it down, and then eventually we may even tie some up here, and then eventually just grow up and over and we'll have a beautiful little trellis tomatoes. So on this dowel rod, I just kind of stuck it into the dirt down here, and I just have it kind of tied up in here, or in here to where it will stay. And I'm going to cut about probably maybe 8 inches or so off of this, and it cuts perfectly with the diagonal cutters. Then I'm just going to come in here and gingerly just kind of twist this up. Maybe do a little bit tighter. And eventually what this is going to do, it's going to train that tomato plant to go up the dowel rod. I may do one, well, I think that's good enough for now. And then once it gets a little bit bigger, I'll tie that up, and then as it grows, we'll just keep going up and up, and hopefully it'll be good. Let's hope. So we need to do a little bit of work on our squash and zucchini plants here. We weren't for sure how many of the seeds were going to germinate, so we probably planted too many of them close together, but we weren't for sure how many were going to come up, and it looks like we had almost every single one come through. So we're going to pull some of these out and give them some space to grow. So hopefully we're not going to hurt ourselves here. So leave us some comments, of course. You guys always do, and would appreciate the help. We're a little nervous because the instructions on the seed packet wasn't very helpful. It was kind of gibberish, so we didn't fully understand it. But this is what we're going to do. We're just going to pull a couple of these out. So we're going to keep this one. We're going to pull this one, correct? And it kind of hurts your soul pulling these. But we are going to keep them and feed them to the goats and the chickens. So now that's all the maintenance stuff we got to do right now. But I do want to show you what else we got growing on here. As you can tell, the lettuce is just loving it right now. We've had some pretty cool weather and a lot of rain. But I do have to ask you guys some questions. If you guys have grown this style of lettuce, this is I can't remember what this is. Yeah, Paris Island lettuce. When do you start cutting it, and how do you cut it? Do you just cut it like all the way across from here, or do you just like pull leaves off and kind of thin it out around it? Leave us some comments down below, because we're not quite for sure when to kind of start picking and eating this, because we want to kind of do the whole pick and grow kind of method like we've done on our other lettuce, just not quite for sure. Same thing with the Freckles romaine. I know that you can pull some of these big leaves off, but I understand there should be a head at some point. And it's awesome how there's variegated plants. Some are darker, some are lighter, but these plants just look cool. And they taste pretty good. We've had a couple leaves, but the lettuce is going good. But we do have a couple things eaten on them. We've been looking for little pests or bugs and just haven't quite came up with what's doing it. So, but everything's growing really, really well. So this is our broccoli and our onion bed. And the broccoli looks really good. We've had a couple, like I said, bugs eating some of our leaves here, but they seem to not be affecting it too much. They're all coming up really well. And we kind of have it spaced out. These are the kind of the bigger ones, and they kind of stair step down. So hopefully when these are ready to harvest, these won't be ready, and then we can kind of get some 2 or 3 different harvests out of them once that head pops up and actually starts going. And the onions are doing really well, but those things have grown, you know, about 10 to 12 inches here in the last couple weeks. So those onions are coming up real strong. So just give you a quick update on our self-wicking or self-watering bed here. We did plant some tomatoes in it. They seem to be doing great. Not a huge transplant shock or anything like that. Like I said, we've got a lot of rain. This bed is still pretty wet, but it hasn't hurt the plants and they're growing. We still have to come up with some sort of a trellis system for this bed. We don't know if we're just gonna, we don't know what we're gonna do yet. So we're still thinking about that. If you guys have any ideas, hey, leave it down in the comments. We'd be glad to hear from it. Hey, and if you haven't, while you're down there, there's that subscribe button. It should be right over here. Click on that. If you think that you like what you're seeing and you want more of it, click that notification bell and you get notified every time a video comes out from it. So thank you. So also, not only do we have this bed, we were doing an experiment here with the kind of pot for your porch, and we just put the super soil in there with the plant, and it seems to be doing awesome. It's growing up well. So hopefully here pretty soon, again, we're gonna have to come up with some kind of trellis, or maybe we'll just put one of those cages in here, but it should be going, this is going good and growing well. So really the only big project we have left in the garden is this section right here, and you can tell it looks a mess right now. But during this, we had some severe weather the last couple of weeks. We used some of these metal panels to go over the beds when the plants were a little bit smaller, to help out if we had any hail and heavy wind and those kind of things, and it helped protect it. I think now they're almost getting too big. We're not gonna be able to use them, but I just kind of laid them down here to try to kill the grass. So I'm gonna come in here and actually till up the soil, mix in some of our super soil, mix in some of the compost we have, and then I'm gonna put this black cloth that we have on the rest of the, like that fabric cloth that we have on the rest of the garden, and then we're gonna plant the watermelon, cucumbers, and some okra in here. But it's just been so wet, I haven't been able to get to it, and I'm letting the ground kind of dry out, and so we can actually till it and just won't become big clumps of mud everywhere. So hopefully the next couple of days we won't have rain. We'll be able to get out here and till it up and get this thing planted, because I know our watermelon plants are getting pretty big and we need to get them in the ground. But guys, thanks for coming back. I know we have a lot of new subscribers. Thank you guys for joining our journey. And if you haven't joined it, like I said earlier, hit that subscribe button, click that notification bell. We'd really appreciate it. It helps us out a lot, helps out the channel. And if you don't follow us on Instagram or Facebook, the links will be down below in our description. Hey, hit us up on that, follow us. We give you kind of updates throughout the week before the videos come out, so you kind of keep up to date with us a little bit more than you would just on the videos. And folks, thanks for coming back watching our video. We really do appreciate it. Hey, and if you know anybody that's like-minded that may like this content, hey, share it out to them. Share it on your social media. We'd really appreciate it. And again, from our homestead to yours, have a blessed day, and we'll catch you on the next video. Bye.